Dione. Achnachach tu yek eoch satiniag, stakat Johan. Ka asa yawe ichtete kach. Yawe hakoach tu yek ya tatlakoach tu qakecheya khosatin. Ya haku ayukatangidat wush kanachutu da adi. Yawe wan qanin sadat yutachutan. Ayanachage Jasa akawa ako awe hayukatangidat wush kanachutu da adi. Akawe khosakua dusa yakhelne ha ina kawanik. Jas Johan hayukatangidat yande kachinak. Helchakut kaku. Ajowe yi wududle tu. Ye awe tak dulsai aya. Ach tuasagu khwa achi. Wasa atwune. Ohan ya khatka ach in ag shukhaya just utulasa a itchawe kwanlin a de khwa kuch ya wushaqaqye yedat qash qaqye de wasagu a de khwadakin ya Shawn nakhdisi aqa awe ya akhunkiyan hasin aya natashin a de wutu wakuch aqa kwanlin aya yukatangidat qa yukatangidat wush kanakhutu daat yawa wutu wus wasake gachlitsina yal takata yukatangi tagish tashoni han gwichin kaska Tlingit we Yukon ye do sago at asani claim a itchaya de sling de khokuch ka I khoshatu kejin yagich anach Tlingit ya huchi yagi aya hastu yandashani shkalnik aya ha in has skautlenik kachon nachuk nask aya ha in hasakawanik ya kushta shi itch gan tutuk ka an shwat egen Sheesh we it lilk zu skautlenik we wishkalnik hoko kukitan shawu chukatin ka winaski kakit Yewe achtuyak at we an kadishiti at the yakashit has to eat. Aka away Sagu Christmas. It's always Sagu Yis talk. Ya hayetki in Hetra Achshet. Aka ya ach kak ach klad du ik kadushet. Hayetki has out Latin. Achshet kachet New York City day with claim. Erwe konach ade wutu de clean khasatin jak kwek ka nasketi hinaya wush kanach wutu da ati ha yukhatangi da the Linguistic Society of America ishtiqa khadati Natives for Linguistics akhjitas awati ya akhshat khat just takat yaya wutu wa ya wuke yeah, just singles yachaya uhan ka tlatlatki utusakhan konakhwe ha yatki one qanins hatwasagut so just takatataya has utulitini ya steutin aya ya tlaitqinach Kathy ready away to sai Ya haji yisawa u we khaletsini khuku. Aka we Hamilton na ya wutulit. Kachunach wuke. Ya jagut wicked we nak atish kalnigi. Atzikunach wuke. Wasak etain has our she. Ya atcha ayabutuwacha wektu. Yeah, Italian, Thai, pizza, cut at ewuke. Akakuch watuwachuch. Yidatcha yadu uhan. Yatlachanach tu yekeyach satini. Shukwach was a good just linkit yukatangi ututla yechi. Aka awe. Wushuchakach tutla at. Ya hayejene yidat. Hajadasa. Gleit chayu katangitsu. Helwasaka kwati. Heshagach sanik we gleit chayu katangi. Just hajishaguni aya. Hastu yukatangitsu. Ya ach. Ish aya English sati ajoy ach ayitsu awewe English yukatangi het wasapati. Yake. So I guess let's reflect for a second. I'm excited, and we're very excited to be back, to see you guys again. I get lonely when I'm not teaching Tlingit, so it's always really fun to get back into the swing of things. I shared a bunch of stuff that I did over winter break. If anybody wants to try that as well, maybe we can open the floor. And if you want to tell us anything that's on your mind or anything you did over the break, if you could do it in Tlingit, that's amazing. If you just tried little bits, uskia, li'i, tiny kind, all yuck. And then I'll walk through some of the things that I said. Anybody want to share to start us off? Anybody online want to share anything? Can you guys hear okay? Everybody hear okay? I'm going to check in with you guys. Didn't even push this button to make the sound better. Come. Okay, you guys can hear.
Satukaya.
Okay.
Suquamish Day, Kazuni Day, Yan Chadakim. Zuni was cold. Period. Chet Yanik Yishan Chet. Yuk Aoa to be here. Goodness Sheesh.
Goodness, Sheesh. Iguaya Juan. Ketach Twash Idnigu. Okay. Anybody else?
Ahit, Seattle, came back to Juneau.
Oh, okay.
So, Sigu.
Hey. Seattle Dach. Hot. Kuchwatin. Came here. And if you want to say came back here, say hot. Kuchwatin. Kuchwatin.
Well, since he's from here, but he lives there now.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sheesh. Anyone else?
How many people are online?
I count Jinkatnach. Maybe more now. Kleinach, Dachnach, Naskinach, Dachuninach. What that one's name? Kijinninach, Kedushunach, Dachadushunach, Naskadushunach, Gushaknach, Chinkatnach, Chinkatkatkainach.
Outnumber us.
Yeah, that's been the trend. It's interesting to just watch the trends.
Can you hear me?
Isachwaach.
Okay. I'm going to have to talk in English because I want to share a lesson I did with my students. And anyway, I'm going to share that. But first thing, how you counted everybody, Kleinach, Daknach, Nazginach. The fourth graders did that today. I made them do it. Not every one of them, but about 4 of them counted their classmates in Tlingit, Kleinach, Daknach, Nazginach. Their non-native teacher was very impressed that you have to use special counting words just for people. Okay, so for our lesson, we're reviewing our animals. I have a table full, and I apologize for the English, but I want to share this lesson. So I have the nadak full of stuffed animals. So I'd hold them up, dasa, dasa, dasa iatin, dasa iatin. Instruct them something chatin. So we went through all of them. Then I put a tablecloth over all the animals. So now the question is, dasa yusitin. Then it becomes a game where they're trying to remember what animals were on the nadak. So then they have to answer something chwasitin. And I'm listing all the animals as they're naming them so they can't repeat what someone else did. So it's a game to see how many they can remember and that they can name. So by the time the class is over, everybody has been speaking Tlingit during this time. Even though the teacher's not fluent, I'm really trying to make the kids use their Tlingit language. And so we would keep on counting how many do we have. And so it's a good way. It's a good way to incorporate the language and make their little brains work to remember what they saw. But in the meantime, of course, no one's using English words for those animals. They're using the Tlingit words, but it's all part of the game, sort of. Anyway, Sheesh, wanted to share.
Sheesh, English is just fine. I already explained, I said it's just a tool, and my father's father was English, so it's mine anyways, so it's all of ours, so it's just something we can use, it's no problem. That's fantastic. In Smelgech, I guess they have different counting for all these different types of objects. So there's about 14 different ways to count things in Simshian, which is pretty fun because we do that with carrying things. We're going to deal with some of that this semester. When you're going to pick something up or hand it to somebody, it depends on what type of object it is. But that's awesome. Another step to take with an exercise like that is to get folks to start describing things, because I think it's it's a fun progression to go from naming things to describing things. So if you had, we came up with this when we were in Natasahin, I think that's it, in Carcross, and we had a hockey bag full of stuffed animals, which were all local animals. So there were no sheep and pigs, or it was all, there were sheep, but they were doll sheep, right? And so we were doing all these different exercises. Yeah, dasaya, dasaiyatin, dasayisatin. And then when we did that for quite a while, we broke everybody into groups, and we were very lucky. We had about 5 or 6 Tlingit elders in there who could speak the language. And so we sent every team sent somebody up, and they picked an animal out of the bag without showing anybody. And they went back and they wrote 5 descriptive sentences about the animal. And then they read them to us, and we were supposed to guess what they had. And it was a lot of fun. And we set it up so that the most obvious things would come last. So if it was a beaver, you wouldn't talk about it's too big right away. You would save that for last. And it was really fun because there was one, the one that I remember the most, and lots of them were really fun. They had some like amazing storytellers in there, and she was giving them these humongous long sentences. And I was like, maybe that's 3 sentences, because that one was, their hands are really, there's this thing called kune, which we don't have here. It's a chipmunk. They have little tiny hands, but they still exist because they eat with their little tiny hands. Such a cute little sentence. And then I'll dig up a game that they put together in Yakdat with their elders, where they have a series of, it's a card game, and they have a bunch of descriptions, and you're supposed to, there's like a keet, and if you have the right card, you can play the card that helps describe the keet. So you could say, they are black and white. So fun stuff. Okay, anybody else want to share? And we'll do like a little round of introductions because there might be some new faces. There might be some returning faces. Maybe some all kinds of faces. So anybody else want to share anything from recent activities? I told you guys I went to Whitehorse. Well, first we took a break, my family and I, and then I went to Whitehorse for a language meeting, 2-day language meeting. And then after that, I went to Teslin and I did a 5-day workshop. We did about 35 hours of Tlingit instruction, which was very fun. On the last day, we had a couple of elders there and we documented some stories. They told us 3 stories. A Kushaka story that was just a guy who heard one singing under a rock, and he sang the song for us, which was really amazing. The second one was the woodworm story, and then the third one was about a loon. And they were incredible because they were just kind of bouncing off of each other. These 2 elders, Anya Shahash, Sam Johnston, who's Ishkitan, and Chukateen Jane Smarch, who's Kukhitan. And then it was amazing. And then I was listening to another version provided by the Dibdal family of the woodworm story. And it was neat because we have these 2 stories that are told maybe 70 years apart from each other and maybe 500 miles away from, I don't know how far it is from Klawak to Teslin. It's got to be pretty far. But it was just really fascinating to do that kind of work. And then we came back, we had Christmas, we had New Year's. We were lucky. There's a group called Natives for Linguistics that flew several folks over to the Linguistic Society of America conference. So attended parts of that. And we're also very lucky because my auntie and uncle came down to watch our kids, and I could take my wife and we can run away and just be kidless in New York, which should be a movie, right? Not sleepless in New York. And Kathy Ruddy amazingly gave us tickets to see Hamilton, so we got to go see that. We got to see a couple other shows, ate all kinds of food all over the place, put in 20,000 steps a day. It was amazing. I came back here, and so here we go. So we're going to talk about the work that we're going to do this semester. I thought maybe we'll just go around the room and just tell us Ha'in kananik. Yewe wan kanins konesh de gachtul. Ik aya shkachtu de sak. Wasa itu sak. Adusawe ishakuni. Adusawe wa'a. Data tinachsa yeti Tlingit stiltu in. Yewa achtuasaku yisachwa achi. Aka away. Gwell dawn dis kanach aya. Kadeni jigachtunei. Yawa yitu ye yiti aya ha yukatangi. Yachtu yakeyohan. So we'll just hear from you guys. Introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, who's your people, that kind of stuff. What do you feel like you need for studying the Tlingit language? You know, the goal here is by the end of this semester, we're doing this whole thing in Tlingit. That's the goal. I'm straight out with, I want to have a sort of develop a process that by the third semester, we're like, okay, we did this using English, now we could do this without English. And so that's going to be the goal. But we're going to work up towards that. So we've got time to sort of go back and forth between English it's just a thing, it's just a tool, but it's also a colonizing thing. So it's a tool that sometimes can be pretty harsh in terms of sharing space, but we get to dictate the space. So anyways, it's great to see everybody. Just hadachaya ye haseti ya hashakun hashuka hatlagu konkian kuntakanach sawe ake haswatian hesh adeon qatuye kuntaksa Tlingit khinach ayaya achawe hadachi hasnatiji ye awa achtuasagu yisaku ye eight haswasa ach Yakahasi to us a kunahawe yandeya yanai glaki. Achawe ye kwati. Ye awa gwash hade aya ana ati. Ye awa ya gwashya aska to dachia. Sakach to ach. Chunk. Iku ayachwan. Yak giglak. Ye awa ach to us a gu. Yitundatani to ye yiti that. Wasa ya koyizige, wasa ya gachidlak ayuchatangi. So just reinforcing a few sort of principles that we sort of work off of is this is a safe space. This is a place where it's okay to get it wrong because we'll fix it. It's okay to try because that's what you got to do. And just know that our ancestors, our ancient ones, they're around us. There's when they hear the language, it's like a calling, and it's also answering the calling that they are making. And so they're here because they want us to succeed. It's like I think of like a person walking to a language class, maybe they're going to start to hear these voices coming out of the woods, which is those old people who are saying, grandchild, we're listening to you now. And you're going to succeed. Be brave, be strong. This is a point where a lot of people get out of the boat. And that's just something that we see. The more you do this stuff, you see this is that point where that Tlingit brain wants to turn things over. So, okay, I want to turn it over. And sometimes you just have to allow that to happen. There's a really neat verb in Tlingit, the way that Susie James said it. She said, just Tlingit dani kachaya ikuchletit. Helwasa ikqone. You're just gonna roll in the swell all over the world. And so this is what he said. It's what Raven said to his mom when he instructed her to get inside this duck skin because the world was flooding. So he said, just Tlingit dani kach ikuchletit. You'll just be rolling on the waves. Nothing's going to happen to you. So just, getting us charged up and thinking about Tlingit. It'd be good to hear from everybody. Whatever you want to share right now. Recent language revelations or thoughts, things that you think will help you. And then we'll talk about the game plan for this semester, and we'll just kind of go from there. So maybe we'll just day in the room, and then we'll see we'll hear from folks online. I spin these cameras.
Oh, okay. Anshawatki aya achsai glik enach ser dibdo yuchet duasak takwa nadi ayachat kakusatan yadi ayachat how would you say Irish Dutch Khan and Hinya Kwandach. Good evening, everyone.
Any language thoughts you want to share?
Language thoughts, as Kune shared, is that over Christmas break, I have a series of recordings that my grandfather, Yechkuu, did back in the 50s and 60s, and of my great-grandfather and many other cherished elders and my great-grandmother. And I guess my language revelation is I want to understand them. And I could only pick up pieces. Like I knew the story, I could pick up words, but I want to be able to understand what my great-grandmother is saying.
Sheesh.
Leita chinach Barbara Craver, Yuchat Duasak, Ka Shagun Yana 8 Aya, Sweden Aya City, Germany Ka Ireland Yadi, Santa Kahini Ye Chat Yati, Ke Chat Uawat Kani Ohe Hawa Ko'ola Poko Oahu Hawaii. And my language thoughts are, it was so intense getting ready for our final last semester, but I feel like those words are still with me. I feel like there's some of the things, even though there's a lot of, so much I can't say, every once in a while I come up with something and it's like, I do know this. It's like concrete. Finally, something is settled and concrete, and it's like, okay, I can go from here to maybe something else. Okay. So it's a feeling that I know so little, but I am feeling, I know I can learn it. You just got to put in the time. And so, thank you.
My English name is Barbara Searles. Teishtutlan Yuchet Duasak, Tlingit Enach, Kagwantank, Chatsiti, Leika Yadich, Chatsiti, Ganach Tedi Dutch Chan Ayachat, Shitka Kwan Dach, Dech Kawukit Yidach, Kechat Uawat Zanta Yahine. And it was a struggle to make myself sign up for the class. Well, because it's, you know, it's a time commitment, it's dark, but I'm looking forward to when I can actually look up some verbs myself, and so learn how to do that.
Again. Goodness, sheesh.
Goed auhu ye het duasach le ha genach babvegen ye het duasach zante kahin ye het yati Western Kwan Ayahat and to learn Shkalnik Alech Ka verbs.
Okay. Okay. Sheesh.
Seju Chet Duasak, Yechna Ayachet, Kiksadi Chetdach Ayachet, and Guakwanyugi Ayachet. I think my language goal this semester would probably be my boss. She found these like Kiksadi songs, and they're like really old recordings that we had lost. So hopefully to learn those by the end of the semester.
Okay. Okay. Sheesh.
Kasana ki khadu sak aksha kajisedi yedisagan ka akhish akhat had yedisagan kikushihit dach klak on kwan khitsikti akhish nishka ahe ingol dach Katka ka yagayi formline design kachshit hastuik aushitu weiskunwan khatsu hikli ish ka herb shakely awak kachshit ka kitch ka atausha ka akuwu. We had fun. That's my goal, to keep having fun.
Okay.
Kushiat.
Stalk ayachat takdeng tan ayachat kumru yeli Welsh kumru ka achtla Deutsch yedat katchat sewagak shtikat. So this semester, I'll try to remember everything that I forgot now. But I want to work on that game that we started with verbs.
Oh, you can.
Barbara's got some cool drawings for it.
Cool.
Sticky notes, but
Yeah, sticky notes.
Based on the verbs from Osnech, and spend more time in class talking and listening and understanding.
Good, sheesh. Okay. Okay. Ich bide ku it poha. Ja adisa dit wasaku. Echosaku kuni nachso yuhan. Gi ide kakwaha kaash the cut yuhan. So everybody who's out there in internet land, which Kenny Grant named for us, Ichtidei, which is the medicine person's road. Because we were coming up with cute names that had to do with spider webs and electricity. And none of them really kind of struck a chord. But then we were at the clan conference 3-4 years ago, and he just pulled me aside and he said, well, a long time ago that those icht, they could talk to each other across long distances. So then he named it Ichtidei. So when I say Ichtidei Kachku'uwu, that's our online peepin'. So one of my goals is that you're not just staring at a computer feeling like you're not a part of the gang, because we have to be the gang who's in the yak, on the hot and the hot side. Too far. But, you know, we are the group. So those of you online, always make sure that you know you can just chime in anytime. And so those of you in the room, you could chime in anytime. Because my goal is not to, just to find that point where we need to maybe try something different, shift. There's a lot of content we've got to get over and get through. But one of my goals throughout this semester is figure out ways to replace some of the technical jargon that's involved with learning Tlingit and just try and naturalize some of the ways. In Hawaii, they've done this with Hawaiian. They've got terms for all the different grammatical concepts in their language, and it helps them, I think, to teach it, to learn it, to stay in it.
Did you see, you forgot to mention the Society for the Study of the Indigenous Languages of the Americas
Right.
at the New York conference. But did you see Megan Lukanic's presentation? It was in Newsring.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's like from inside the language, describing the morpheme or the classifier or whatever in what it means from within, instead of what linguists have been working with largely is the Latin analysis.
Right.
Trying to squash these sort of like, you know, I can't even think of the words because they don't mean anything to me either. But so that's a very important valuable undertaking.
And I'll show you guys an os, a Tlingit Yucatangi osi, that I started drawing after some conversations with folks like Joel Isaac, who's working in Dione, and then also some folks who were at that, including at that presentation. But first, we want to hear from our online ku'u, ichtidei kach ku'u. Introduce yourself, tell us how you're doing, give us a couple thoughts on language and learning, whatever you want to share.
Can we see them, their faces anymore?
If you have a camera, feel free to share it. The resolution on this TV is insane. I'll have to figure out how to adjust that. We're also in a different room. I'm kind of grumpy about the whole thing, but
Oh, you saw it.
I'll just have to get grumpy with people later. So anybody wants to go, Fook?
Go. Yake yuksatini sid yuchat duasak kitchkan ye chat yati Switzerland kwan ayachat Tlingit stu chach tuwu. This is my 5th semester, but I was really thinking over about what you've been talking about like colonized ways of learning and how they work in school, and I decided it doesn't even work for anyone. And I just started to kind of study the way I've always studied, which is just cram everything in. And there was so much of a flood of information in our fall semester that I just tried to like memorize it all instead of kind of really sit to understand. And so I decided for this semester, I really want to set like more focused short-term goals instead of trying to be overwhelmed just to memorize, you know, every which way you put the squirrel around the table or every like little thing. So I just need to kind of focus my attention a little bit more, but I'm really excited and I love being here. It's the best part of my semesters and my days. So I'm really excited. Good cheese.
Sheesh. I'll be releasing squirrels into your houses. Tell me where it is. No. Okay. Yes. So that's another thing is I tend to just go all over the place all the time. So if you feel like we need to go over stuff again, let me know. Okay. Sheesh. Itch means to follow it. The one who follows that. So who's next? If you're looking at a computer, we're talking about you.
I don't know if I want my face all over your room. I'll try. Let me grab a friend. Tim, never mind. Tim, iit kuaha.
Sheesh, Tim actually isn't here. It's Shawn Dewhurst from Teslin. I am actually a little bit shy because I did 3 classes with One in the summer and I haven't touched anything since. I've been doing other things. However, the local daycare has hired me to do a bit of work with their children, so they've pulled me back in, and Shkuyeh has approached me about these classes, so I'm giving them a whirl.
Yak echa kan sheesh. Kachonachach tu yak es achi. Okay.
Eska aya. Achuni. Elmo, you do a sock. I'm shy. I need a friend. Okay. Let's see. Eska aya. Plate cock enough. Daphne, aka Duffy, right? You cut to a sock. Akdain Han. Ayachat. Filipino Yadi. Kagwan Tandatskan. Hunakawu. Let's see. Kanetsu yu du sagun akla. Yakwan tla yu du sagun akla du shat. Trace yu du sagun aklisk akla du tla. Huna yecha yeti. Huna skun yejikhane. Ku atlet, what is it? Ku atletu chatsiti. Tlingit yukatangi. Yay, oh well. Sheesh. Now I have to switch to English. So this is my little pal. I hope that someday my classmates in this class can come to visit Huna and visit my classroom. It's just loaded. Satuk will tell you. Satuk will tell you it is loaded with cool stuff. And Renee, I wish you could come here and visit. Okay. The last Friday in April will be our school ku'ik. So mark your calendar. You're all invited. It's just a one-day event. The kids put on a program and they perform and in various ways, and we sing and dance and we feed you a very nice lunch. Yay, owa. So you're invited. This year will be our, I believe, 28th. Maybe this will be our 29th annual ku'ik. Okay. Yay, owa. Sheesh.
Okay. Sheesh Johan. Yake chosatini aya. We Elmo kawa. Shoyi jani.
Oh, Deji will be here, but Hefyat Yachana.
Yake. Sheesh. Sheesh achin ke akawanigi. Thank you for tattling on her to me. Yake. And yeah, it'd be fun to come over there. Maybe I could teach this class from there for a few days. That'd be pretty fun. Okay. Itcha adusa. Quite a few names.
Too.
Okay. Oh, we see you, but don't hear. Okay, there you go.
Okay, is that good? Yedi cook ayuchat dua sak Dione Blakach ena kicks adi ayachat Akahit dachat city take wedi yedi ayachat Kagwantan dachhan chat city. My Tlingit name is Yedi Kuka. My English name is Dione. And I'm Kix Eddie from the Point House, and I'm the child of the Teakwedi and grandchild of the Kagwantan. I think for me, my language goal would be to start understanding structure more so that if I want to try to charge ahead and learn some things on my own, that I'm able to use the tools at my disposal and understand them a little better. So, you know, I could open my verb dictionary, I could open one of the one of the other dictionaries I have, but if I don't really understand like what a classifier is or all of those different parts of the verb, you know, to be able to actually use the dictionaries, then it's not as useful to me, so that you know, I can start trying to figure things out the best I can on my own without just having to message you and ask you how to say stuff. And so I guess like if I had to summarize my language goal, it would be to have enough tools in my toolbox that I could bug you less. Good enough, Sheesh.
Okay. Sheesh. Yeah. Ask less, talk more. Okay, we'll all get there. Sheesh. Itcha ko'a adusa. Okay.
Kuatun yuchat duasak Tlingit genach. Dleka kenach Juanita yuchat duasak. Tlingit ayachat Filipina ka yukwan ayachatsu. Kagwantan nachat city guch hit dach chat city. Kiksadi ka yukwan yadi ayachat. Kachplach yuch dua sak ach ish kach kanach kwan city. Chushkach dachkan deshitan ach dach kanach u kach nu kwan dach. So I am in here so I can understand more and hope I don't forget it. And I just want to keep going so I can just eventually get to where I can just speak it and understand it. And that potlatch that Duffy talked about, I grew up in Huna, so I went to them every single year, and I remember them. And I hope to make it back sometime for it with my busy schedule.
Okay, sheesh. Ikecha achat zachwa achi. Ikecha. Itcha ko'a adusa.
Hello, can you hear me?
Honey.
Okay. Anyanach tla aya ach sayi kadlate clock einach ani Perkins yechat duasak kagwantan yadi ayachat kix adi nachatsiti. I'm Ani, and I guess I actually wrote down like a list of goals for this semester, like while I was waiting for class to start. And I guess my they're like mini goals, but then I have like a really big goal for like the end of the semester.
I don't know what the assignments will be like this semester, but I want to be able to also complete my own list of goals and like assignments that I've given myself. I would really like to figure out a way to continue studying Tlingit in college, because I won't be in Alaska for college, and but I really want to figure out a way to integrate Tlingit in any way I can when I do go to college. And I hope to be studying Native American studies. So I just really want my language to be a part of that. Another thing that I've struggled with before is I have a lot of other classes that I'm taking and a lot of other commitments, and it's just I'm always thinking about, oh, I should work on Tlingit, and I should be memorizing verbs, and I should be doing this, and it's just a matter of like finding that time like to purely dedicate to the language that I need, and I think I will have this semester because I have a little bit extra time on my hands, and I'm really looking forward to that for the upcoming months. So, Sheesh.
Okay, sheesh. Yeah, it's great to keep goals. And I don't know if you're going to Dartmouth. I saw your
Right. That's what I know.
shirt there, but I'm on sabbatical next year, so if they gave me a house, I could just hang out there and teach Tlingit. So
They have a pretty amazing Nat house.
yeah,
They have an amazing Nat house.
I went there a couple of years ago to do a presentation, and if I'd have known, I would have stayed a little longer because I spent more time traveling than I did actually there. And it was super stressful because one of the flights got canceled, and I was supposed to give a presentation that day. And then I was on the phone with Sergey Khan trying to decide if I should rent a car and drive from Boston and barely make my presentation, or wait for a flight that may or may not go. And I waited for the flight, and it went. But he picked me up, we drove there, and I walked in and gave a presentation. So it was pretty fun. But yeah, Sheesh, and language goals are great. And so we'll talk about that throughout the semester. What are your individual goals? What are our collective goals? And how do we make sure that everybody's going along at a pace that works for them? Dusa. Okay, good.
Bút yadi yuchat du a sock, gleitcach einach trevin scan, cogwantan chat city, taco nadi yadi, kitchan ye chat yati. Sheesh.
Yekecha. Sheesh. Itcha Dusa.
Chataya.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Chataya, Chwantlain Yachattu Asak, Chakna Chatati, Wudzinedi Ayachat, Kirch Kwandacha Yachat, Kachchanak Kodzati, Achkuik Sai Ki Segu Shawata Yachat, Dleitka Katiatan Yadi Ayachat, Kagwantan Dachchan, root web, Achlich, Ish, Charles Cake, Achlich, Pla, Clutuhesh, just linket yuch a tangi, Slidat, Achlich, was born in Akhlilk. Father Ish, born 1857. Akhlilk, born 1882. Achtla, born 1925. Kirchdach, all of them are from cake, except Akhlilk, Jaki Ish, Kagwantan. Akhlilk, Hunch, Charlie Joseph, Wushiayi. My goal is to understand Tlingit, Yuchatangi, just Tlingit, Yuchatangi. I think every time that I try to understand it makes me cry. I don't know why, but it does. And somebody sent me this, and I was going to ask you. I looked it up. Kudud and I know Khan is love. Kudud Ka Dud and it didn't have this phrase, Kadud Zechan. I was wondering what that means. I know it's about love, and I thought maybe it was about all love. So they said, Tlagun Kachu, Tlagun Kaku, At Kahini Awe Kadud Zechan. Cha. Sheesh.
Yak echa kunis Sheesh. Qadudzachan and kududzachan would be the same thing, and it means people are loved. So there's two objects in there that are what we call the fourth person. So like it happens to people or people do it. So you could say Qadudzachan, I am loved. Kuchzachan, I love people. And then Qududzachan is people are loved. And so there was something in the beginning there about believers. And so, yeah, we also want to touch on some of the emotions of being a learner. Sometimes it's an up and down thing. Sometimes you go way down. And, we just want to keep an eye on each other because, this is the pattern I see with Tlingit as well, as we're doing this through the Kula Nui, the Shkun Klein, is that we're in this semester system, and it's harder to get people back here for the second semester. So, but it's Sheesh for making it. Grief, like it's hard to get people. It's when I put sticky tape all over on the floor, just do whatever I have to, But to also just sort of say, like, this is a place where we can actually reconcile a lot of those things. So it's not just constant feeling bad, but it's feeling bad and then also learning. We did some work on some of these phrases in Teslin where we talked about the ceremony of learning a language. And some of the phrases we were looking at was janak, which is a command for let go. Because I feel like with some of our traumas as a language community, sometimes we're like, look at all these terrible things. And then we scoop them back up and like carry them around, right? Which is, we want to get to a point where we can rely on the ceremonies that we have and maybe ones that we might create, like at Tlingit a Tlingit language potlatch, where we can. And so we had everybody write down, I had them write anything that feels like it's in your way. I feel bad that I don't know. I feel guilty for not going. I feel like someone's going to correct me harshly. I feel, whatever the feelings might be. And I said, don't share it, just write it on a piece of paper. We put them all in a paper bag and we burned them because we wanted to sort of practice getting rid of some of these feelings. Because what we want to do is acknowledge those areas of grief and pain and remove some of those things. And we're not pretending that it's not there, but we're going to put a good thing in its place. And that good thing is going to be understanding some of these incredible phrases so that we're not just looking at the translation, but we are the ones who are able to do the translation. We're the ones who are able to get more people in the door, teach people ourselves, use the language in a very functional, practical, day-to-day type of way. And so a lot of this stuff is, it's the heavy lifting. So it's a very heavy thing, but together we're very strong. You see people can lift like thousands of pounds when they're carrying a 40-foot kutilla to go be raised in a community. And so similar to that, it's a collective effort. So these are some things about making sure that we know we are the gang. So next year I am not teaching at UAS. I am running amok throughout the world. I don't know what our plan is yet, but I did get sabbatical approved, so there'll be someone else teaching here. And then I'll be back after that. But I'll be around, and I'll be doing stuff, and we'll figure out some intensive sessions. I'll be in Sitka for a good chunk of next summer, I think, at the Outer Coast College. And then we're trying to plan trips to Teslin. There's a potential for a 3-week camp in Teslin in September, although I'm still trying to, we haven't got the, nothing's been arranged, but we're talking about that as a possibility where we'd go and live in these cabins for 3 weeks where it's, you have nowhere to go. You cannot leave. You know? But we also want to spend some time this semester, I think, dealing with some of these realities of becoming a speaker of Tlingit. And so this is the path that you're on now. And it's a path that has already been made for all of us. Our job is to just clear the weeds and to make it easier for those who come after us. And so sometimes we'll be having discussions about the structure of the language. Sometimes we'll be talking about strategies. One of the things that you can do is just listen to it as much as you can. Just find some things that you can listen to. And then I'm going to show you some tools that you can start to become a translator. We need more people who can translate Tlingit. I think Chuck has managed some of these projects where we're translating conversations and stories. And I think there's maybe 10 people in the whole world that can really do this kind of stuff. Maybe there's 4 or 5 that could do it on their own. And so we need more. There's thousands of hours of recorded Tlingit that contains so much information, unbelievable amounts of information. And it's all right there. But the thing is, it's, well, if you ever call my cell phone, there'll be this long thing in Tlingit that just says, Sheesh we beep it. Thanks for calling me. After the beep, speak, and then I'll call you back. And I had a plumber, and he was trying to find me. He's like, well, I was calling your number, but it was just going to voicemail, and there's this foreign language on there. So I said, oh, it's not foreign. It's like as local as it gets. And he said, it was foreign to me. I was like, yeah, whatever. But, anyways, just thinking about like what we're going to do this semester. So I got a syllabus, which I'll go over very quickly. And so it's on UAS Online. Basically, one of the key parts of our class I gotta figure out this. The resolution is so tiny on this thing. So I run a website for teaching Tlingit and for making materials available. It's called tlingitlanguage.com. On here, there is a tab called Learning Tlingit. Oh, I guess I gotta share this with the gang. Hold on a second. I just get a little rusty at the start of a semester. Now you go over here. Okay, so I think you guys could see that now, maybe. It's so tiny. Boost. Okay. So on here, go over there, mouse. Okay, there. There's a tab called Learning Tlingit, and under there, here's Beginning Tlingit. If you know someone who wants to learn, they can watch those. There's lots of ways to learn, and one of them is to watch all the classes that I've taught. There's a bunch of dead links on here, so I'm going to try and go through, fix them. And then Intermediate Tlingit, this is where we're at. So on here, here's electronic versions, PDF versions of the texts that we will be using. We're using the Beginning Tlingit workbook, Hausanei Chayuk Atangi. We're going to start looking at some other things, like some of these deep level Tlingit linguistic documents, and we'll talk about what can you gain from that. And then we'll also, one of the things I'll be working on next year is developing a third-year curriculum, an advanced level curriculum that just sort of is maybe a little bit more of a straightforward approach to learning and using Tlingit. But if you come here, you'll see this is the link to join the class. If you're ever traveling and you need to dial in or Zoom in, whatever it's called, and you could do that through there. Classes get archived, so you'll see tonight, one will pop up here. Well, this will say Intermediate Tlingit 2, fall semester. I'll put the new syllabus up there, which we'll go over shortly. And then there'll be a link to watch a class. So you can watch a class if you miss it. You can watch a class if you wanted to review. I try to summarize what was discussed there and then include the handouts. So again, if you know somebody who wants to learn, I'm just trying to say, how do I get rid of all the excuses or the reasons why people might not learn? And then if you want to see what we're doing in Tlingit oral literature, that class goes Mondays and Wednesdays. If you want to come, you can come. You can sign in, you can do whatever you want. But I'm trying to get that class to function entirely in Tlingit within the next couple weeks. And then under resources, there's a bunch of stuff under here. Here's audio. That's probably where most of the dead links are. I'm going to go through, and I think I moved from one website to another and everything didn't move. But there's a lot of stuff there. Here's a bunch of Raven stories under this one called Raven Book. And the Raven Book will be coming out in the next year. And it's got just hundreds and hundreds of pages of Raven stories. They're just amazing. There's a bunch of other projects that are going on this semester. I'll be finishing this whole series of Tlingit and Haida Head Start books, which has its own kind of, the book itself has its own story. And the story that I know is that I think the project kind of almost died out. And let me show you, I'm trying to drive and talk at the same time. I'll pull this up so you guys can see it, because I think it's going to be a fun thing. And I was working on this over the break, and then I had an idea, because we were going to do a bunch of these little books. And then I thought, well, why don't we just do one big book with all 9 of these stories in there. So there's an illustrator who did this. I don't know the whole genealogy of this project, but it came to me And at the time, they had a couple of the books, and then I saw them. I was like, "Where are the rest of these?" Because it keeps referring to these other books, and nobody knew. People were looking through drives and external drives and everything else. And then somebody got me the contact information for this illustrator, Michael Dixon. So I got in touch with him. He's like, "Oh yeah, I've got them all." And then he gave me all of the books. Then I sat down with Ka Huan Ish, George Davis, and Shakshani Marge Dutson, and they translated all of them. And it is beautiful. I'm just going through their language, and then I have to retranslate it into English because it changes pretty substantially. So then initially I thought I was going to I was just going to be mean and have like a little piece of paper that has the translation so it could fall out and get lost. I was like, that's kind of mean. So then I decided, so here's the story. So there'll be the stories with these illustrations and the Tlingit text in there. And it's probably going to be about 130 pages long, maybe. It's going to be a pretty neat book. And I told them, when we sat down to do this project, like I told them with others, I said, I said, my kids eat real food. I want them to hear real language. And then so they didn't hold back. There's amazing, incredible stuff in here. And there's lots of things you can do as an intermediate speaker and learner of Tlingit to just go back and forth between stuff that's already translated for you. Because then you can sort of see, can I get there myself? Do I know how every single little piece in here works? Because that's going to be your goal, is just find all these new things and fill all these gaps. But so far I think we've got 5 of them in here, or 4 of them. And then this is what the section is going to look like in the back. And it's just going to be, here's all the Tlingit that's in there, sentence by sentence, and an English translation. And so that's what I've been working on. And so it's kind of fun too, because by putting the English in the back, you could check your work. Can I translate this myself? Do I understand what this is? And there's lots of fun stuff I think that could be done with something like this. And so I was going through and they're just such wonderful speakers. I'm so fortunate to work with speakers who are kind and patient and fun and funny. I go through and I listen to the recordings of when we made these translations, and it's just really fun, and just trying to get this ready for the language nests and for other folks who just want to have Tlingit in their home. I think one of the keys is just trying to, one of the things I saw in Hawaii was this transition that they made from taping their language onto these books to making their own books. So that's the sort of path for us as well.
We need an audio book when you have time.
Yeah.
Then we can just listen.
So that would be the next part, is just sort of recording this. And so there's lots of other projects I think that we could think of, because it would be great. We also started this project. Here's another one that's probably sitting at Tlingit Haida. There was this tippy, have you heard about the tippy tap?
No.
Bit of a nightmare.
That's like, yeah.
But the end result is a series of books on an iPad where you poke the word and it says the word for you. And so so we translated those. And initially I thought the project was going to be a bit of I was just frustrated because whenever you're translating, some things don't always work. Like, I speak Tlingit with my kids, and then if they want me to read a book, but the book is just really built on a rhyme scheme or something, I just say no. I'm like, no, it works in English. It's not going to translate well. And there were several books that were like that. But some of, like this one on like puppies and dogs, it was such a wonderful project. There's such good language in there. Anyways.
The zebra and the lion.
Yes, and so we had to come up with words for all these silly things. And so we had fun. We named
That project is still moving. It's It's moving.
Despite the frustrations, we came up with names for guitar, which I'm shocked nobody has ever came up with a name for guitar. So many Tlingit musicians. So we named guitar, accordion, saxophone, cello. Anyways, kind of drifting all over the place.
Is this on your website too?
It will be.
It will be.
Yeah. And so once I get a substantial draft, I could put it up there now. I'll put this version up there so you guys could see it. Then this is something I gave. Is it you guys or the other class? I think it was the other. I think we just looked at it. I gave it to the other class and I said, translate this. And so, but we should talk about what we're gonna do. The game plan for the semester. Hold on. Let me back up. Let's see. So I do think Advanced Tlingit will be offered next year. But I'm not exactly sure how it's going to go or who's going to teach it yet. I have confidence in everybody who might come forward to teach it. And then I'll be maybe providing some materials from a distance. But there is going to be this 1 year kind of gap where the work that I do won't be here. But there's others, and I think it's good for Juno to have somebody else do it for a little bit. Because sometimes if you do this kind of work, you also, people shoot arrows at you, so then they could shoot arrows at somebody else for a change. Not a whole bunch of people, it's usually the same kind of group of people, but all right. So there's a number of things about a syllabus at a university. Some of the really important parts for me are that you understand that this is your space, and this is a space for you to learn. I have a bunch of things that I think that you should do. My kind of approach to teaching and learning Tlingit is just sort of breaking into these 4 groups. It's like these 4 house posts. Tlingits love things in 4s. So I'll be like, well, let me tell you 3 things. Oh wait, let me think of 1 more. So listening to the language and speaking the language. Those are top priority things. In particular, if you could find a fluent speaker to listen to, who's spoken since birth. If you don't have access to that, going into the recordings, listening and just really mastering a recording. Because there's something to be said about listening to something, and I want something new, something new, something new. But there's also something to be said about just listening to one thing and letting your brain do a lot of that behind the scenes work in your subconscious mind and in your spirit that puts a lot of these things together for you. And then speaking it, so that if you don't speak a language, every time you have to speak, it's like you're stepping onto this stage and everybody's staring at you. And you want it to be more of well, unless you're like a performer, but you want it to be more of just a day-to-day thing. Like when you speak English, I don't think you have a lot of anxiety. I mean, you might, depending on the situation. But we want to just try and ease that anxiety as much as possible. There might be times where we'll talk about the performative aspects of Tlingit, storytelling, and then the forms of oratory, which are usually like public speaking at a ceremony, or speaking in terms of prayer, and if you wanted to speak to Khat Kwani or Hoots Kwani or any of those Kwani type of things. But then the day-to-day stuff is really, and so whether you're talking to yourself, finding someone that you can practice with, and then also making sure that that time, it's real easy to let your time be gobbled up by other things. Because I think there's a part of your brain that kind of doesn't want to do this, right? It's just like hard, you know, because it's hard. You have this whole other consciousness. You're in the act of actual decolonizing your mind, which is hard. Sometimes that colonial part of your brain is like, no, I don't want to share. And so you have to just sort of carve out that space and time. And sometimes even if it's just you walking around, because this would happen when my wife and I first got together. She was like, "What's that?" I was like, "Oh, it's just speaking Tlingit to myself, practicing, trying to say, can I say that thing?" As you see something in the world, just say, "Do I know how to say that? Can I describe what's going on?" And then figure out a way to do that. So speaking and listening is thing number, that's one of the things. The other thing is just sort of filling up these boxes. So there's these different types of things in Tlingit. There's a whole bunch of these different types of things. But then making sure that you have these boxes full. There's names of things, which we call nouns. There's words that talk about the relationship between things in terms of time or space. And there's those types of things. There's verbs, thousands of them. Understanding, just getting your list of verbs out. And sometimes Tlingit has, like there's a specific verb for removing the guts of a fish. There's a specific verb for removing the insides of a shellfish, because we're ocean people. And then the fourth, what was that? Speaking, listening, filling up your boxes, and then understanding the structure of Tlingit. And that's the conversation itself. Like, how does all this stuff fit together? How does it work? When an elder, because you're going to get to this point where a speaker will say something and you'll say, "I know that's amazing. I don't fully understand it, but I know they just did something spectacular." And then you're going to be to a point where you will understand what that thing is. And then the fourth, I think, is just maintenance, like making sure that you're feeling confident, that you're dealing with the various types of traumas that might be there, that might be yours, that might be ours, that might be someone else's, and also just dealing with fatigue, disappointment, all these different things. And sometimes that takes work as an individual, and sometimes that takes work as a collective. I remember I was at a meeting and Larry Kaplan, who works up in Fairbanks and is a linguist and has been involved with the Alaska Native Language Center for a long time. We were having this meeting. He says, "We don't need more linguists. We need psychologists," And so, and there is a truth to that. But also collectively, we need to be able to be in those safe spaces and dealing with things, because sometimes people are going to come at you. You might say something and they'll harshly correct you, or they'll shut you down, or they'll make fun of you, or there's all kinds of different stuff that can happen that's symptomatic of a language that's in trouble and the people that are in trouble. And so those are kind of my four areas of focus, and we're going to drift around between those four things. And so I'm going to lay out a game plan, but it's a pretty rough plan, because sometimes I'll just be getting ready for the class. I'll be like, "Oh yeah, we should do this type of thing." And then if you have questions, bring them. One of the things I highly recommend is also having a physical space for your language learning. So don't mix it up with all your other things. When I was, I'm always learning Tlingit, but when I was really actively learning, I would always carry two journals. One was for my notes and my creative writing, and the other one was just for Tlingit. Because I was digging around, where did I write that down? Somebody told me this thing. I had this other phrase, and because I used to write it on just anything, but then I would just lose it. Or I'd find it years from, I'm like, I don't even know, right? But then it's also neat to have that, so that 4 or 5 years from now, you can take a look at it. Like, oh yeah, I remember when I was figuring this thing out. Because it's kind of a neat thing. Because sometimes with language learning, you're feeling kind of frustrated, but you don't even realize what kind of amazing journey you've been on sometimes. Any thoughts, questions, ideas?
I would like a real basic toolbox. instead of, you know, I mean, like, you know, 10 verbs, we all know. And, you know, just some very standard things that we can practice. I think that would make me feel like I had a little bit more mastery of just being able to have a basic conversation, even if it's just in this artificial environment, but it has to do with, you know, something that we have in common, so we can just do it over and over again and vary it.
Yeah, that'd be great. There was I was gifted like this Maori survival guide, which is a very short book on like, you need to know how to say these things. And so, Tlingit has some sections that cover a lot of that stuff. There was a new phrase book that came out from Carcross last year. And so that has, and so it might be just picking some of, but maybe we need to, and I did these cards, which I don't think I gave out here. I gave them out in the interior last summer. But they were these verbs that I felt were the most common verbs and conjugated in the most common ways you could use them. So we'll work off of those things. But that's a great idea. Sheesh. Anyone else?
So, Dione, you're talking about in our language community here, in here, to have language that we all know.
I mean, I in other language classes that I've taken in the past, we had these dialogues, you know, and like every week or every lesson it's concentrated on this one dialogue in this one situation. And, you know, I assume that the people who were teaching felt that we were getting good basic verbs and nouns that work together. And, you know, it was like, oh, it's a new purse. Oh, is it leather or plastic? Which do you like? Was it expensive? Where did you buy it? Things like, you know, just sort of common conversational stuff. And so, you know, just because of the rote of learning it and having it in common with other people who use the same textbook,
right?
We have structure, and so I can remember some of those phrases, how they were put together, how I can put a different verb in there, and that, you know, I don't know, that gave me a feeling of competence, a basic kind of competence, maybe.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So maybe we can, a few times, or a couple of times at least, we can pair up and then create some of these dialogues, right? Just like we'll come up with it in English, something that we think is useful day-to-day conversation. That's another one of the big things with endangered languages is they often just get stuck in a classroom because you don't always learn how to say just some day-to-day stuff. Okay, that sounds great.
You had mentioned maybe even having us start every classroom with you know, today is blank of the week, the weather is so-and-so, you know, I mean, for us to just have that kind of stuff under our belt and reinforce it from day to day, I think would help me.
Okay. Well, so let's, so maybe on Thursday, I'll go over some stuff on like how we could start the class. And so, and then we'll all take turns leading that part. So that, because the other thing too, I think it's become easy to sit through a Tlingit class and not talk. And so trying to sort of remedy that with just sort of saying, oh, well, here's the script. So use that.
I wonder, of course, bringing this by Dathjani is once we get the immersion nest going, when we have those family nights where we'll be teaching families what the kids, the goal is to the families to have the tools, is I wonder if once they get a few, if that would be a space that as learners we could be there.
Yeah, that'd be great because would be teaching useful day-to-day language in the home content, right? And so, yeah, absolutely.
I'll see.
Okay.
That makes sense when the boats came in from Haines from the north to Occoquan. And Une went away for a few minutes, and I had the little guy. I asked him, and it wasn't intimidating. I said, "Gusui ish," and he told me, and I thought, he understood me. So he knew where you went.
Okay.
For the girls, they ran in the bushes, but they're okay. It is good. It helps when you can be in a place where it's not intimidating.
Yeah. And as learners too, like, you guys have the authority and the free will to go create these environments where we can use the language. Because that's the other thing, is we have to take the language into spaces. And so I'd be real interested in hearing how those things can happen. One night we all met at Fred Meyer and we just went shopping for 2 hours in Tlingit, and so things like that could happen. And so it's got to be just different ways to make this language community exist in a wide variety of places. And so I'm really interested in ways that can happen.
Would we be able to use this Zoom software to set up study groups collectively, do you think?
I think so. Actually, I was talking with some folks, and I think I heard someone online with maybe a thought, but I want to figure out how to set up a study room online so people can just set up, hey, let's go there at such and such a time, and then it's just there, because that way, because there might be folks who are out there learning and they've got nobody to study with or nobody to talk to, and so it just makes it easier.
There is this that provides that. It's free conference calling, and we used it when we did our Hakak, Husqueak, and we were all over the country, from Washington to Anchorage to here, and it was a way for all of us to meet. It didn't have the video, but we could all hear each other. It was free. They'll give you a code and you all call it, and then you can all communicate. Everybody could hear you. You can all hear each other. But it's a free service.
We need our contact information, our class list.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, we'll do that.
We can talk to each other.
I was going to remind you of the assignment that you gave us when you were going to be gone, and we did dialogues, and you had people doing, someone online and someone in town did they developed dialogues and performed those. That was really a good assignment, and it brought out a lot of Tlingit and working together. And I got to work with my sister, but that was cool. But we were, she was traveling and Dale G and I were here, so it was a very good assignment. I would suggest that you do that again.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that a few times, and we'll work in different teams, and maybe we'll just do like groups of 4 or something. That way there's multiple,
that would be good.
Even if there's only 2 people who end up performing the dialogue, you have sort of a working group. So we'll do that a few times. That sounds like a really great, and then maybe we'll end up with like a little handbook of dialogue exercises, which I think would be wonderful. Because we were trying to do some things like that in some of the language workshops we were doing. We're just trying to think of things. Why would somebody be happy? Why would somebody be sad? And some of the elders, they didn't like some of that because they said, well, if you talk about being sad, something terrible is going to happen. And so we do want to be conscious of that, but we also need the vocabulary to talk about when. So we'll just try and preface it by saying, dear universe, don't strike us down. We just want to learn how to talk about this stuff. Because you need, this is one of the things I think about too, is you need to be able to use the language in all these different situations. So I was pursuing a recording of somebody who was really chewing people out, because I said, we got to learn how to do that. Those moments will happen because this is what I will see is people will use the language in their home, like, I'm going to use English because I've got to chew you out. I'm like, no. Do the chewing out in Tlingit because my kids, they get chewed out in Tlingit. And so this is, and to be able to have even just disagreements, and it doesn't have to be a super dramatic thing, it could be, but just to say, well, I don't agree with that. I think it's more like this type of thing. And just like learning, making sure we know how to do those things in Tlingit as well. Because if we don't, there'll be a huge misunderstanding, then a clan war, and then on and on. And so, okay. All right. So, well, let me talk about the stuff that we are, that I'm going to make you do. So, hold on. So my goal is that you'll know over 100 verbs by the time we're done. And we're going to see if we can get there. And so, and we'll talk about what is a verb, because there's things that can be done to change it, and now you've got a whole new verb. To comprehend the language beyond the intermediate level. That means anywhere you go, when you start hearing Tlingit, you'll be able to listen to it, and you'll be able to understand at least what's going on. To describe current and historical events using the language. And then to understand and teach intermediate concepts. Like, so this stuff that you're going to understand this semester, you should understand it at a level that you can teach it. Because I remember I was teaching there's so much stuff I don't know. But I remember sometimes I'd be teaching stuff and I'm thinking, I don't understand how this works because I'm just talking for a long time. It's not making sense. And then, so be here, show up. These language demonstrations, let's just make these our dialogue activities. So there'll be a number of these throughout the semester, and that'll be probably part of your primary work. It's just working in teams to develop these dialogues that you'll share with us. And I'm really excited about that. And we'll collaborate on them. So if you don't know how to say it, don't worry. We'll work together and figure it out. Your midterm is going to be a translation project. So I'm going to give you, I'll give you a text that has the Tlingit all written out. You're going to have to translate as much of as you can of the other side. So I'll give that out next week. It'll be a story, and you'll have a couple months. So we're looking at right before spring break. We'll talk about how far you guys got. I will reveal the translation. If you're totally, completely stuck, let me know, because we'll probably go over a few things as a group, because it's not like you got to do this with no help at all. It's not that kind of thing. It's like figure out how to get there, though. And then your final will be a 10-minute presentation in Tlingit on whatever you want. That's the goal. So that's so that's the main part. The other part of the syllabus does have important information. So everybody, you get graded in here. If you do it, you do it, and you'll do great. So the only way you wouldn't do great is if you stopped coming, or if you didn't do the things that you're supposed to do. You can assess this course. I always forget to remind people, and so I don't have very many course assessments. I just found that out today. If you need any assistance, there are places that provide assistance here on campus. And so advocate for yourself, communicate with me. If you have any sort of, these classes are recorded, you can watch them again. As a participant, you should know that these classes are recorded and shared with the entire world. And if you don't like that, I'm sorry, but there's not a lot of places you can go to get this content. And one of my life goals is to just make this stuff accessible. If you feel like anybody is discriminating against you in this environment or in other environments related to the university, there are avenues you can go for support. Come to me, If it's me who's discriminating against you, like, come to me. Like, I would want to know, because that'd be like shame on myself. But if other people are too, there are things you can do to protect yourself, especially if someone's treating you different because of who you are. There are also a lot of things to maintain a safe environment here on campus that involves our class. We did have a class one time where two people were, I don't know what was going on, but they were getting along, and one was, and then another person came and was all mad, and there was almost a fight. And so sometimes like things like that can happen. Also, if you know of anybody who might be harassed, or there's stalking involved, or dating violence, any sort of sexual violence or crimes, there are legal protections for that through the university. Any student falls under these protections. We learn about them so that folks know about them. So if I hear about anything like some sort of stalking, violence, anything like that, I'm obligated to report it. So folks need to know that, one, so that they know that they have an avenue to get some assistance, but two, so that they know that if they share something with me, it's going to have to go up that chain of command. And it's to protect people. But that also involves other folks at the university who might be doing stuff they shouldn't. And part of that message whenever I teach a class is don't harass people, and don't stalk, and don't violate their safety or space. And there are on the syllabus listed several places you can go and contact for assistance. The other thing is, if we end up unearthing traumas here, just make sure that you're practicing self-care in whatever ways are going to help you. So there are counseling services here at the university, in the community. We try to talk some things out here, but I've been in environments too where we talk about boarding school and traumas, and the next thing you know, everybody's screaming at each other, and then it can get ugly really fast. And so I would like to be in an environment where we're not hurting each other, we're not hurting other people, but that's sometimes a challenge to create and maintain those environments. And then there are contacts at the university if you have any questions about any of this stuff, concerns, if you know somebody who's in some sort of situation where they might need some assistance, there are systems in place. Then our schedule. So basically, we're going to spend the first 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, catching up and reviewing everything we've ever done. That's my goal. That's just kind of roughly putting it. And then we're going to try and transition into this Tuesdays, our structure and learning time. Thursdays, our language use time. So think of activities that will help you, that are neat, that are fun, so that we can get to a point where Thursdays are total immersion days. Because the other thing is, like, as I've worked with students, I said, oh yeah, there's this immersion thing going on. And they would get terrified. I'm not ready for that. It's like, wow. And I was asking, it's like when I asked some folks in Hawaii, I was like, how'd you guys learn how to swim? Like, my dad took me on a boat, he threw me in the water. So at some point, we're going to have to throw you into the water. And so, but we're also going to just guide you into the water. And we're going to go through some stuff. We're going to spend some time looking at place name, clans, regions, nouns and other parts of speech, directional and relational terms, and then we're just really going to get into a lot of verbal work. So this is where we've been talking about verbs, and now we're by the middle of the semester, we're probably going to be doing primarily a lot of verb work. But then we're going to try and balance that with just using the language. But by the end of the semester, you should fully understand, the intricacies of grammar. You should. And so, not that you'll be able to identify everything or do everything, but you'll know basically how they function. We're going to supplement this stuff with lots of stories and other things, and looking at the language in practice and use. If you have things that you want to share, the mic is always open. Like if you want to share some kind of story, some kind of song, some kind of thing that just sort of keeps us going if we sense that the energy level is getting low. And sorry, and there was a question here. You would say, what is June? Is June Khatisi? Or is that July? At Kadahitisi Kawe. Ya Tokani Ye Kakwau. I guess it depends. So the question was, I don't know if this is a question for everybody. How would you say we're expecting a baby? And so pregnancy is pretty fun in Tlingit because it's a tokane ye awa'u. So ye awa'u, ye kakwa'u, ye akkwa'u. The verb itself means to wear or to use, but you put tokane in front of it, and that means someone's having a baby. That refers to the mother who has the baby, right? Dukat ka'a is a term for being pregnant, which means, it literally means it's sitting on her. And so, dukat ka'a. And then, as we get into a rhythm for class, usually what I do, if folks have questions about language stuff, I'll put a document up on the board, and that's how I'll write it. And then I'll share those notes later. So in the evening, like the notes and all the handouts from class usually get shared on the tlingitlanguage.com website. Other questions? Anything else?
I thought your idea of sharing was pretty good. It took me a little while to think through it, though. And in retrospect, I thought, Wutik Yachana Kaushi Hate Shan Kunach Kudigwas Kish Kwasatin Wedei Just Wegaudan Sina Kawe reflectors. Wutik Kua Yachwaglak Yaduchat.
Okay.
It was so foggy. It was so scary. And you couldn't go fast. It was a long, long drive coming in.
Kind of symbolic.
So I was thinking, I really want to go there. But it was really hard to just get here. And so it took me a little while to put that together in response to your question about what our thoughts were. It's a good thing to do, to share something. And that was because I thought, well, all we did was clean, eat, sleep. We didn't travel.
Right.
But tonight was Atskani.
Yeah, why?
You too, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
All the way out.
Yeah.
It
kept changing.
Mm-hmm.
It was really low, kuriguas, and then it would raise up a little bit, and then all the cars in the back had their headlights on. It was like,
You could go to fast too.
no, I'm like I'm going where I'm going.
Yeah, yagi sitka san koeku de gwats ka out de gun so. Yeah, out kakan waktana yi etina khat yati katash kadin ay khutin so. Chuya apocalypse atunach. Like I was driving across town like at noon, and the fog was super thick, but the sun was shining, and I was like, I needed sunglasses because it was bright off of everything, but I could hardly see. And I was like, yeah, this is what it's like driving in the apocalypse, I guess. Well, as far as like a rhythm for class, so let's, Thursday, we'll just do a little bit of more getting warmed up, seeing each other again. I don't think I heard from, just realized I didn't hear from Tlingit. If you wanted to share anything before we go. But let's do this. So we'll do, Thursday I'll show you how to do the sort of day-to-day, day of the week, day of the month, the weather, so that when it's your turn, when we'll just sort of take turns starting the class. And so you'll be the one who leads and starts the class off, and then we'll do everybody shares something. So every class you should bring some language to share. And this is, I think, how we'll get beyond only knowing how to introduce yourself, which is very common. That's a wonderful step, but now we want to say stuff. And so this will give you some just regulars, and it doesn't have to be like a 10-minute speech, it doesn't have to be a huge story. Just say something, because that way you'll think of things that you want to know and you'll figure out how to do them. So I've been doing this language assessment for years, and part of the assessment is I'll say, tell me something funny in Tlingit. Tell me something sad in Tlingit. Just tell me something of substance. And so that's what we want to push for, so we can describe things, narrate, start stringing some things together, and then we'll use, like, I don't see it as offensive at all. We'll use this book that's written for kids, and there's so much good stuff in there. It shows us how to do so many important things in the language. Okay. Anybody else?
Bill aya aksai English painach hishna hattati late kayari aya khat ukti ka klesh da ya kushye Tlingit yukatangi. And during the break, I started reading your dissertation, and one of the first things that caught my eye was in your dedication, and you dedicated it also to your little brother, Tlachane. And so I was wondering if there's any, you mentioned before that you own the name, and somebody gives you the name. And so is there any offense taken when somebody comes along and just picks up your name and says, hi, my name's Sheesh now?
Sheesh. Yeah, so we generally, as we have people choose nicknames and stuff for classes, we just try, nobody knows all of the names, but if someone says, I want to be called Tlachanes Nu, which is the Kingfisher Fort, then we just say, oh, that belongs to a clan, or if there's a name that happens to belong to a clan, but just picking like a noun, like Awa or something, that's usually okay. And then if we find out later, we might have to adjust it, but no. So we llukach adi awa watuahin we tlachanes nu ye do sago at ya khosakutsu tlachanes kubu aya ye do sago at tsu daislin dot ani on kasago ekutzati ya awa ya khalkawo hanakugudi ya duin ag du udnayi dat aya wush kanach tuda adi aya has to inkachonik yewa chuya with tachanes nu aya yidache yati dat yashtakatu hana du satu in sati yewa canis nu aya katki ayindi aya has audiya do da it Yewa steutina china kawanik tachanes hasausatin as yikdewe hasautlachain. Yatle achkla ahanakwaguti aya yanchakade wutu wakhatka ach shatka ach yetki. Ach awe wutu satin su hadari yetiowe with tachanes. Kunachawe ha outlachain. Ya gwall cleidu siw dis a yeshu wahich weda adach. Ya ach keek away a wajak. Wadu wajakaya. Tlachach tu nig. Ajoe we asai aya chwalla Khosaku wan kanins keshe ti we kana nai itkhaya desai yet uwasa. Ako a ach nakaya has our khut aya ach keek ajoe du yet uwasa. Keshach tuash gut de katpang has au saku. Ya ha shuka a we shukach adi shuka a. Hasach ewa woos. Kesh at u aya. Keshach tuash gu would do zaku at. Aka konachawech has sachanen. Ya konachawech too unique. So there's multiple parts to the question, which I think is fine. And then if we find out that we've gotten into that territory of clan property, then we try to adjust it. Tachanes, I think, is a good name. We, the Tlukachadi, claim the Tachanes, which is a kingfisher, and we have a place called the Kingfisher Fort, but there's lots of kingfisher places. We're not the only ones who use that, as far as I know. There's a place right near Teslin that has Tachanes in the name. But what we'll close with tonight was during Cyril George's funeral, I was asked to talk, and I addressed the family, and I said, let it be as if the Kingfisher Fort is surrounding you. Because I really loved him, and I wanted his family to be comforted. And they said when they went to Killisnoo and they were lowering him into the ground, they looked over and there was a kingfisher in a tree watching them. And then when my mother passed away, we went camping just shortly after, my family, just before we went up to Anchorage for the doings. And there was these kingfishers all around us and they were watching. And it wasn't long after that my little brother got shot and killed. And so I asked folks in our clan, I said, can I just give him this name? Kachanes Shakini. Kachanes Chini, which is a long feather on the top of a kingfisher. And I said, it won't be clan property. It's not something that we do to name people after they pass away, but I loved him and I raised him for a while and I felt really bad that I didn't hold on to him. And so we gave him that, and I think Kachanes is good. Oh, yeah, Kachan Tsunami. Oh, Tsuyeyanaka. Is that what it is? Tsuyeyanaka. I think his autocorrects went from Tsuyeyanaka to Tsunami Yetyanaka. Anyways, it's a heavy stuff to close, but we'll see you guys on Thursday. Sheesh, Sheesh.
Yay, Christine.
It's not mine. Okay, I can tell you that.
There's, in that recording I shared, there's this one part where it's like, she's like, river of the way in, and she's, you. Like, that's the one, like.
At some point.
Is that what you're saying? At some point?
It's a wonderful narrative device to say, we're going to make a time jump in the story.
Okay.
And all it does.
But then she says, at some point in there, she, instead of saying, you, she uses cha. So then it's like a cha, I'll have to listen to it again. Okay. But there's a point where she goes from to there's a cha. Anyways.
I'll have to listen. Yeah, because